Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So today, the three of us are on live, and we're going to be talking about accountability.
Which is the path to self-discipline?
Agreed.
Good afternoon.
Oh.
I like hearing my voice.
There we go. So, accountability. Basically, what it is, someone or people in general that aren't able to take, again, we always go with our own opinions, but someone that's not able to take actions or take part of their own actions, that stuff that they've done, or own up to their own faults.
Well, there's people like that, and then there's people who do take accountability.
Yeah.
Like ourselves.
So those are the extremes. There you go.
Exactly. Extreme, so that we can find the balance.
Is that everything going on over there? It's okay? And we're going to close that door. Sorry about that.
You okay?
There you go. Is he hurt?
Yeah, he's good.
Sorry about that. Something going on outside.
I thought he passed the kidney stone.
Alright, so again, accountability is basically, like we said, either one extreme or the other. We wouldn't want to call it an extreme, but basically someone.
Well, you know,
It could be an
at the end of the day,
extreme,
it's the both ends of the spectrum,
Yeah.
yin and yang, and it's okay. Again, we always discuss yin and yang in the way that it's important to have a perception that allows you to see both sides, and then find a middle ground.
Yeah.
So, for example, some people who are extremely accountable are people who feel overly responsible for everything, and they guilt trip themselves.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy either. That starts to hurt you.
Yeah,
It starts to push you in a place where you're in a jail of your own.
You blame yourself for everything.
And then there are the other extreme, where it's people who are no accountability at all, and they usually don't have any friends, because who wants to be friends with somebody that punches you and be like, well, I don't care. Or, you know, you ate your pizza and you're like, but that was mine. I don't care. These are the examples.
Very much good examples, yeah.
Exactly.
So, like what Chris was saying before, also, when we take accountability, we actually start developing certain disciplines. You want to elaborate on that?
Self-discipline in the way that you take consequences in a level that you understand why the consequences is real. So, for example, somebody who budgets properly will recognize that, oh, the consequence comes that I've met all my basic needs, and then I have a little bit more to have some fun with it. But some people who don't have any accountability will use that money for drugs, they'll gamble it away, but then their basic needs aren't met. And the consequence is getting sick, needing to come see somebody who is going to heal them, because they've made decisions that have caused negative consequences.
Nobody could heal anyone, we could just help them. Remember that.
Right. We did not say heal, we said help.
The other thing also
Ridiculous,
is
but
that
yes.
the other thing is when we look at accountability, when we look at waking up to come to the gym or setting yourself a schedule, that's where the discipline comes in. It's you're accountable for your own actions for the results that you want. So the accountability is I'm waking up in the morning, 6 a.m. I'm going to get out of bed. I'm going to take action for myself to get out of bed. Be disciplined to get out of bed. Do a meditation if you want. Do whatever your ritual is. And if you want the results, well, you got to put in the effort. And that's what it comes down to, is when you're accountable for your actions, it helps you become more self-disciplined, you get the results you want because you're putting in the effort, you're putting in the hard work.
You're also becoming aware of what works for you
Yeah.
specifically and what doesn't work for you specifically.
Exactly.
And that's why guides, the best kind of guides, and Andrew's going to help out on this one. Do you feel guides who tell you what to do is best, or someone who goes according to your needs and at your pace?
If they know the needs.
Good, very good
I
point.
found it's like there's a lot lost in translation and understanding where some people, many people, don't really realize that they poorly express their needs or even their desires because they don't know them yet. Right? They don't have a target they're shooting at.
A lot of people are still confused.
Yeah, exactly. And for whatever reason, right? Sometimes there's fear guiding them for things they've lived or whatever. But then it's that sometimes what happens is that person can encounter either kind of mentor, one that is super compliant and understanding, but to a point where it doesn't perceive that this person doesn't really know where to go, so they don't go anywhere. And then you also have the misfortune sometimes of meeting the mentor, the leader that understands this person is lost and will try and mold them or manipulate them into a direction. And I think both lead to the person feeling unfulfilled or unrealized because, back to accountability, that person never had a target. So it couldn't voice the target to either mentor. And I think if they had, the empathetic one would have helped them get there. The tyrant will always try and direct them to what is beneficial for the tyrant. So yeah, that accountability and understanding of self probably allows for a better student so that the teacher can almost expose themselves. Like the right teacher will present itself once a student's kind of aware of what they need. If not, it's like a roller coaster or like a revolving door of like probably 10 different mentors and nothing really happens because the person's either unfulfilled or unguided, so they don't complete a task and they don't even understand that they're not doing it.
So what you're saying at the end of the day is that you need to vocalize,
Yeah.
and a leader helps you
Guide the
mold
path.
and guide the path to what the goal needs to be. And like you said, is that person helping you figure out what that goal actually is.
That'd be a great leader if it was. Like if someone had those tools, which not everybody does, which is okay.
But you said the most important word, communication.
Yeah, both sides.
Communicating on both sides,
all the time.
recognizing that there's the same goal in the middle,
Yeah.
that is whatever it is that needs to be helped.
When you're clear on your goal, your vision, whatever it is, and you just don't know how to get to that goal, that's where the guides come in. And when you better understand the vision and the goals, then that's when the guides help you really lay out the path and set the tools that they know best that they can help you. Now it's just up to them, the person who wants the goals, to put in the work for it, right?
And that's where accountability starts again.
Exactly.
And that's where needing to feel confident that there's results. And that's why here, that's our goal, getting you results. Helping you figure out what your goal is and getting there.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And Anthony and I have discussed how we want to start a multidisciplinary, I can't say the word.
Multidisciplinary.
That's why I have him say it.
Multidisciplinary. He always has that problem. Multidisciplinary. It's okay. I have a bunch of other words that I
Team
can't say either.
approach. And you know, it's important because I'm someone who has the communication skills, which we can get to the bottom of it, and Ant has all the experience there is to get to whatever that goal is. And like Andrew said, through communication, we'll find out what it really is.
Mhm.
Accountability.
A lot of people I see it often with clients, it's they're still unaware, unsure, uncertain of where, not only where they want to be, where they are presently, because they don't even understand what happened in their past. So in order to actually see what your vision is or what your goal wants to be in the future, you got to learn through what your past is also. And learning from your past, that's the biggest form of accountability, I find, at least, because that really sets you into a place where you're learning from your past, you're taking actions of what you've done in the past. And that brings us to even what we spoke about last week about forgiveness, is understanding what you did last week, last month, whatever it is, anything in the past that you forgive yourself for, but forgiving yourself, that's already you taking action, taking accountability for what you've done. And it doesn't have to be negative, it could also be something positive, but you actually acknowledge that you've done something that you're either guilty or proud of, where that's where you have to forgive yourself or tap yourself on the back for. But again, you're the one that has to be accountable for your actions. You're the only one that could bring you to the results that you want to get, pretty much.
And it's really important what you just said. And this is why I despise that the word consequence is a negative thing.
Mhm.
It's not.
No.
Consequence just means the result of an action. That's it.
Yep.
You actually choose to perceive it as positive or negative. It's your choice. It's just that, again, like we've discussed, you need to be in a place in your life where you can accept that it is your choice. And like you just said, some people with their past, they guilt trip. And because they guilt trip, that's the result of a negative experience.
Yeah.
It's about turning things into a positive experience, no matter how negative it has been. And putting it into a positive does not mean that, oh yeah, it was okay that happened. No. It's stating that, for example, I was hit, I did not like being hit, now I'm going to do some kickboxing so I can feel confident that if it were ever happen again, I have forgiven myself for not knowing how to fight. Now that I do, I feel proud. See how I did that? I took accountability in the way that I despised that I had this bad experience, but I took control and I decided to learn something to make me feel confident in a situation that next time will not occur the same way because I worked on it.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it also.
Okay.
Did you wanna
No. Continue.
That was actually very short.
you both talked about great points, and like back to the teaching system. Like you meet people, everybody's a little bit further along in their healing journey. Like you meet them as deeply as they met themselves. And what's interesting is when you do get them under your tutelage, if you realize that there's this place they'd like to be, but they're clearly not understanding of their own past or accountable of things that they may not even realize are as pronounced as they could have been in their development. If you want them to heal enough to understand the message you're presenting them, there has to be that communication to build trust, because in time what will happen is they'll understand that, well, when this guy, how do you say it, an old biblical saying, he who spares the rod hates his son. So if you don't like fucking discipline him, you're actually not encouraging him to improve. But when you do use the rod, to explain why you used it. And what's funny is, like, you can actually hurt a dog, you can hurt a child, you can hurt a student in a way that you're using to teach them, I think. But if you allow them to understand why you hit them, then you build trust over time. And what you notice sometimes, you've got these older ways of teaching. For people who know hockey, I'll use Mike Keenan as an example. It's just about beating you to a pulp until you fight back to a point where you understand what you need to do. And sometimes what it does, it breaks certain individuals where they can't come back.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
We do forbid hitting people.
No. Figuratively speaking, yeah, not literally.
And to actually point out what you're saying is exactly my strategy with kids. In a way that when I discipline them, I tell them why the discipline was there.
Yes.
I have 3 main rules when dealing with anybody. It's you break it, you fix it. So if you made a mess, you got to clean it up.
Yeah.
Be accountable for that.
If, for example, you take my time and you're wasting my time, I'm going to take your time. Because at the end of the day, you need to respect that people are giving their time to you. Mm-hmm. But last but not least, if you cannot be social, you need to be removed until you're able to socialize. And so I used that last one when it came to kids in the playground not doing what they needed to do during an activity. They caused so much riots in the activity that I removed them from there. Same thing like in society. You go to McDonald's, start causing problems, you're going to jail. Plain and simple. And that's simple as it is, because if you go to someone's house and you cause problems there, you should be removed. As simple as that too. And in the way that I would teach them, exactly like you said, I break it down for them. Why is it important that you should care? Well, if you want friends, you have to care.
I think it's something in society that a lot of people don't know the why of, and a lot of people are searching for that why. Why this, why that.
And you will find it at Kabbalah's. Why?
As much as we can.
Your friend at the restaurant, every time he gets knocked for something, he never gets told why or what. He just knows he's got to clean something up.
Yeah.
Like, that's a rough way. You basically live in constant survival mode.
Yeah.
So eventually,
And then you're
can't
cautious
push it
of wanting to break something because you don't know why.
You're gonna screw up at some point, right? You get hesitant. You don't raise a strong individual.
And so that's why proper accountability is understanding the why.
There was also something you pointed out, is having that respect. I think having accountability for yourself deems a self-respect also that you're going to ask for a lot of people too. And that's where when you become more accountable of your actions, you develop that self-confidence, self-respect, self-love. because you're understanding again the why,
Yep.
and then from there, you're setting your boundaries with people, and they could respect you in a way where you're actually communicating.
Yeah.
So I think like we touched on a lot of great topics, but I think that all comes into play where you basically, the accountability is basically a self-respect and self-love and being able to grow, self-discipline. So they all come in together. So every time we talk about all these concepts, we'll call them concepts, but every time we talk about these concepts, they all tie in together. So
100%.
that's why it's like bringing them up is always something.
Connects to others.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like we're saying, accountability is very important. And at the end of the day, it's being, like you said, respecting your choices, but recognizing the responsibility of the choice you decided to make.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I think that's good.
And then also another point is being accountable also can create certain habits. You know, you want to develop those habits. You want to that's where the self-discipline comes in. Also, is creating habits. The self-discipline, you get the results. The self-respect, you get the results.
Well, I do like what you were saying about a schedule. You know, like at the beginning of these podcasts, I used to say like break it down into 3 levels. So body, emotional, mind, and spirit. But physically speaking, it's like you said, accountable in the way of this is my schedule. This is what I'm going to do for myself. I'm going to eat properly. I need to eat breakfast. I need to eat lunch. I need to eat. That's scheduling yourself physically. Emotionally is recognizing that it's important to exercise, important to eat your food on time, being aware of those things. And then mentally, it's recognizing that this is natural. Certain things are natural, some things are not, and that's what teaches you. Am I going to be accountable?
And on the mental aspect, not being hard on yourself either.
100%.
That's another thing that we take actions. We want to take actions accountable for our actions that we do, but it's one thing also to not be so hard on yourself either. It's okay. You're human. We're here to learn. We're in a human body. You know, this avatar basically to experiment things and to learn. But it's when you start doing things that harm people or harm yourselves, then you start saying, okay, whoa, take a step back and be accountable for what you're actually doing. But basically, being in this avatar, you're allowed to make mistakes. It's just don't make it 3-4 times at once, you know.
And forgive yourself.
Yeah.
It's interesting what it says too, when you're allowed to make mistakes, healthy mistakes, you describe them, you'll kind of identify your tribe pretty quick. Because there's some people who, they want to love you, but they can't. Wherever they're at, your shortcomings aggress their reality too much. And other people are like, you know what, yeah, I said I love you, I mean it. You go, yeah, you trip, it's all good. Just take a breather, do your thing. Take a month, whatever you gotta do. And some people just can't give you that, and that's okay. It's just, you understand that at this moment they don't have access to your inner part because they will destroy things just because whatever it is they're dealing with is gonna start to attack you.
That's why you have to set up boundaries.
Yeah. It's hard to identify sometimes, right? Some people have a capacity to almost kind of blend into the background, and then it's not until they've been challenged in something that challenges a core belief or like a real part of themselves that you see like the lash come out. Which is okay, like they're just showing you a part of themselves, and actually to a certain extent they're really allowed to be that, right? Like I don't know what led them there, but you know that where you're at, if you want to progress past it, you got to be kind of careful.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, fuck you, you know. Sometimes it happens, you know. Like there's so many people who are offended by a lot of things nowadays, you know, and it's not because they should or shouldn't. It's just, let's face it, there are going to be some people who have very, very different beliefs on how things should operate in society, more traditional and some not. And that conflict doesn't mean it's bad. It's just if you want to live a happier life, be careful of what you let in. You know, you want to love everyone, but.
Question.
Trump or Biden. We're not gonna go on that. Trump or Biden. So hi Francesca. Hi everyone else that's been watching. So not being hard.
That's how you get more views.
Not being hard on yourself.
We'll tag companies.
Not being hard on yourself is key. Allow yourself some grace. Exactly. That's pretty much it.
Exactly.
Who said that?
That's Francesca. So
Okay.
basically, guys, be accountable for your actions. Just don't be too hard on yourself and respect yourselves and basically the people around you. You'll get respected. You'll get respected once you give yourself the self-respect.
And when it comes to the idea of accountability and the words of Trump and Biden, just look at the news. and you will figure out who's actually being accountable.
Take care. Have a great long weekend, guys.